Hi, this is Glenda. I've been playing with a technique that I thought I'd share. I had this copy of Die Cutting Essentials 35, and in it had a stained glass section, and it had this one, which I thought was really unusual and it took my fancy. I didn't do mine the same way. They actually say to cut two die cuts and use one as a stencil, outline each section with a grey watercolour pen, and then you colour it in with a koi pen, the different sections, and when it's dry you put your die cut on top. So that sounded complicated to me, and I'm really lazy, so I came up with something different. What I did was emboss my die into a piece of watercolour card, and I'll show you in a minute what comes next, but we colour it in and then put the die cut on top. Obviously stained glass, it works really well, and this is the first one I did, and I really like the look. It's something quite different. So then this was my second one, and I think it's also one of the most successful. These two are definitely my favourites, but I really like that. I started digging out different dies and seeing what I could do. Some of them weren't as successful. The spaces are probably too small for it to really work, but they're still pretty cards. With these two, I was too lazy. Somebody who could be bothered blending it out, they'd work really well, but the big areas I just couldn't be bothered, so I was pretty slack. And this one I tried, because the technique uses an Inktense watercolour pencil, and I imagine any watercolour pencil that's got a strong colour would work. This one I tried using watercolour markers, and although it's a pretty card, it didn't give the same result because the marker just didn't blend out the same way. So having said all that, I shall show you essentially what I did. So as I say, I took my die and I embossed it into watercolour paper. There's lots of tutorials on that, but basically if you put silicone embossing mat underneath, or fun foam, or whatever you use for embossing, and put it through at a thinner setting than you would to cut. So however you, we've been embossing stencils forever, since they first came out, but we used to just cut our stencil and then emboss the pattern in the edge. Now we just emboss. Anyway, lots of tutorials how to do that. What you do is you take your watercolour pencil and just draw in all the lines. And it doesn't have to be super neat, because at the end of it you put your die cut over the top. And for this one I don't particularly want to go outside the shape. On these ones it didn't matter so much because I actually cut the panel out after I was done. But if you're going to just leave it in situ, you kind of want to keep it clean on the edges. You don't have to do every one, but it really probably helps if you do. Having done a few of these, I'm getting even lazier than usual. So then you just take a paintbrush or a watercolour brush and start blending out into each area. And the more artistic and the more time you take, probably the better the results. So when you sort of think you're done, put your die cut on top and make sure you haven't missed any of the bits that are going to show. I think that's looking pretty good. And I'm just going to dry it. And then to fix it, the die cut on, you find this gets quite warped, and what I found quite useful after I've stuck the die cut on is to run it through my embossing machine, my die cutting machine, just without anything to flatten it. So that's just some matte medium, and the collage brush that I rediscovered the other day that I absolutely had to have when it came out and really never used. It's actually quite nice for this. So all I've got is some matte medium and brush it on. I might just wipe that up because filming, I know I'll make a boo-boo. And then just ease your die cut back in. The stained glass ones I found almost stretched a bit, so you really had to ease them into the grooves of your embossing, and then just press it in. And generally put a block or something on it to flatten it while it's setting. Like so. So that's the technique that I've no idea what it's called. I haven't seen anybody else do anything quite like this. I don't think this one had a name. No. So I'll think of something to call the video, and that's what I'll call the technique. So as I say, these were my favourites. But I just think it's got a really nice look, something a bit different. You can't be too fussy, you will get bits that go out. It's just a look rather than a, yeah. I'll stop now before I keep rambling. If you liked that and watched, thanks for watching. Yeah, bye.